Listen up, I got a story to tell about a guy named Logan. Oh, he's so swell. He's the G.I. Joe gamer. Cool and witty, dropping up his characters, heroes and villains at midnight. We shout, Yo Joe, or Cobra, talking like a Joe G and a Cobra tie. Joe's got snake eyes, a silent ninja in black. Quick with his swords, he'll give you a heart attack. And this dude's the leader, so bold, gung-ho, always ready to fight and make those cameos. And we can't forget about Scarlet, the ultimate girl power. A fierce warrior, she'll make her enemies cower. Cobra's got Destro to supply the weapons. Cobra command, plots and schemes. She's ruling the world in his dreams. Zartan is never what he seems. And Baroness rocks that black leather outfit. Shoots you quick and slipped out the back of the head. Yo Joe, Cobra, Logan's here to give his G.I. Joe taste. Oh yeah, Yo Joe, Cobra, talking characters, it's a G.I. Joe thing.
Greetings, I'm Logan, the G.I. Joe Gamer. Welcome to Joe Takes, episode 44, Hot from the Hilt. I'm going to start like I always do, but I got something big to show you, so it should be fun. Not my oldest example, but it's the oldest one I own, because I bought this in the store, is the General Hawk figure, the figure that came out in 1986. Now, I am actually going to be able to give you a closer look at this, but I want to show you what I have up here, and then I will do something a little fun. Let's see, so we got also the 1991 General Hawk that came with this backpack. It's really cool. Like I said, I'm going to try something a little different here, but here we go. Let's try this out. See what we got going on here. See, I got the original 1982, if I can do this right, straight arm Colonel Hawk. Now, I got a video of this, and its plastic is really old and brittle, so I'm being really careful. But this figure is in such good shape, it's almost pristine. I mean, whoever owned this, I just bought this for the last month, and whoever owned it before me took really good care of it. The only thing I had to do was replace the O-ring in it, which, you know, a lot of fun. So let me try to stay on the screen at the same time. It even came with the file card, which is kind of cool. And the original Hawk was, and not a general, he was a colonel, 06 in the Army. And he was a West Point graduate. His file card's pretty cool, but we'll get to that in a minute. I wanted to show the MMS that he came with as a towed vehicle, so I busted out my Vamp Mark II here because it was already out. I generally have it out because it's my favorite Vamp, but I do have the clutch that comes with that. But I'm going to go over that all in my clutch video when I do that video. I do have the Vamp on pre-order, so I should be getting that within the next few months. It says by May, so we'll see how that works out. I'm not going to schedule it until I have it, but I'm going to take this and set it over here out of the way. And then I'm going to put this in its base mode, which is kind of cool. It's got this little stand here, and then these little feet come out. I don't know if you can see that properly. Now, this is kind of a makeshift setup that I've got going on today. I really do want to be able to set this on a different table so that you get a better look at it without my arm in the way. But my missile launcher comes off really easy, as you can see. Mine is not in the best of shape. Again, I got this at a comic book store in a trade for other figures about 3 years ago. And I just barely acquired the Hawk at a really good price to go with it. So it's a nice set. Now this actually goes on this stand, and you push it in there and plug it in there, and then it stands. If And see, with this cord that they have put in there, it pulls it really, really hard and really easy, so it makes it so that it just falls over. But I have to set it up just right to get that. There's a little plastic thing to it. It's like almost like a oh, it's not a zip tie, but it's something similar. And so this goes. If I put it the right way and at the right distance from the MMS, if I can do this right, it sets up like that, and then Hawk is supposed to be able to control the missiles from there. Now the missiles, each of these missiles are, I'm only going to take one off because it's really a pain to put them back on, but these missiles are pretty cool. And for coming out in 1982, this was a nice little accessory you could get, and it towed around with either the Vamp or the Mobat tank, so it was kind of cool. The other one that came out that was a trailer that year was the HAL, which I have that also. At some point, if they bring out a classified Grand Slam, they pop into place there. That's right. If they come out with a classified Grand Slam, I will take a look at that one too, because I have the 1983 version of Grand Slam, so I will be able to take a look at a vintage Grand Slam. And then I didn't get another Grand Slam until the modern line, so I just have the one vintage figure. But let me see how this is going to look here. This Hawk, like I said, I played the death out of this Hawk, but I ended up acquiring a second one and replaced his arms because the other one was in really bad shape, even worse than this. His crotch is missing. And there's a few little details, and the knees are so old, and I know how to do a repair on the knees. I'm kind of lazy, and I spend more time doing other things. But this helmet was always an issue. It seemed a little oversized, and the main issue I had with this Hawk is that he's not a blonde. He was never a blonde in the cartoon. He always had dark hair. I know they did that to differentiate him from Duke, but originally he was a blonde, as you'll be able to see here in a second, because I'll come over here and take the Colonel's hat off, his helmet here, with his visor, and as you can see, Hawk is a blonde. Now, later on in the modern line, they came out with a Hawk in that outfit, but had blonde hair, so it's kind of cool. So we've set him over here. Now, I don't want to put him on a battle stand. He stands up really well on his own, because the plastic's really old, and I don't want him to break any of it. Now, this figure, now I had some of these other missiles from a different figure, but they were the same style. But I can't remember what it's from, to be honest with you. And he only came with one of these machine guns. It's almost like a shotgun, an automatic shotgun. It's pretty cool. And each of the missiles could fire off there. But I was missing one, so it was kind of good that I acquired these other two for a backup. But this backpack folds out like leaves, and so it's pretty badass, I thought, for a 91 figure. Now, when they started getting all weird and colorful, they actually did this Hawk figure justice, and I was so happy to acquire it. Now this helmet comes off, and as you can see, it's General Hawk with the dark hair again. But that's how he was from in the vintage line from the '86 figure on. So there you have General Hawk as he basically had with the jetpack. He could go around and spot things for his troops, and call in missile strikes and everything, because that's what he does. He's a missile commander, so he knows all about radar and armor defeating weapon systems. So his counter in Cobra, they always pit him against Destro, but it's really Cobra Commander. I think Destro is more Duke. They always say Duke and Destro, but not really, as far as I'm concerned, at least not in the comic book. In fact, the only time that Duke and Cobra Commander met is when they took Cobra Commander prisoner in one really early story arc in the 20s. And that was even before the Snake Eyes origin. And that was a real cool storyline. I've talked about that on Joe Takes before. So in my roadblock video, I think I really did a pretty good look at that. I'm pretty sure it was roadblock. So that's what I have here. I'm gonna show you this trailer a little bit more detailed, but what I want to do is take this off of here and put this back. What I liked about this is it just kind of sits right down in here, and it's almost like it's part of the trailer. Yeah, I'll take the missiles off. I already kind of showed you those, but I'll give you a better look at the actual trailer. And these just like pop up and down for it to stand when it's not being towed. And it has really good wheel design. This is where they cared about what they were making, I think. They were trying to get people to love G.I. Joe, and I think they succeeded even with the original 13. My missiles, like I said, don't stay on very well. This is not a very good example of an MMS. Mine doesn't spin around like it's supposed to. It's actually glued in place, probably because it was broken. But I've never taken it apart to see if I can fix it because I don't know. It may be broken worse if I do that. But there it is, complete and intact. At least all the parts are there. Now I know this cord is not the original one, but it works, and that's not the way I would have done it, but they did a pretty decent job of repairing it, and it also kept that piece from being lost. So that's a plus when you're dealing with really old vintage toys. And like I said, these two are really cool figures, and I've got my classified one over there that I'm going to be taking a good look at here too. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at this classified box. Now, this is 103 in the classified series, and this artwork on the side is really decent. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of the pictures, but this wasn't bad. And of course, you have the foot locker, so you can stow all his accessories in. And the numbers on there, so it has a name and number. Which, like I said, they're going back to window packaging, so they stopped doing the foot lockers, which is a bummer because I thought that was a plus with these non-window packaging. And it's just good black and white art if I can get the light in there without shining on it. It's pretty cool. So yeah, that's not bad. I can do it up there too. I'm just getting used to using this second camera. Like I said, it'll be a lot better once my studio's set up and I got my ceiling back, so I'm not too far away from having this happen here. Yeah, probably within the next couple of weeks, I should be able to set up my studio because they'll be done with the work down here that they're doing, renovations on my house, which were kind of a necessity because of water damage. But that's the way it is. But here's your classified Hawk. Now, what's cool about this is I can do this. So you got the new Hawk, and I don't know how well he's picked up on the camera, but they did a pretty good job of making these guys look very similar. Some of these new and old figures look very similar. I basically I showed you that before, but giving you the side by side on the camera at least. And he had his pistol on the side, just like he had a holster for one on here, no actual pistol, because he had the pistol, but he did have the holster with the gun molded on here, as you can see right there. So they did a pretty good job of updating the new Hawk to the 1986 Hawk, which is the iconic looking Hawk. This is how most people see Hawk, and I agree, it's pretty cool. I would love to see a classified version of Hawk like this. That's pretty cool too. I love the jetpack and the way that works with the missiles and everything, and it's a lot of fun. So there's the figures, and I'm gonna set these guys aside, and I'm gonna turn off this other camera, and I'm gonna get back up here to full screen. So I'm going to take this out of here and stop camera extra. There we go. So back full screen. and so I'll be able to reach my keyboard and do all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to read this file card real quick. Um, like I showed you before, and he's the missile commander, codename Hawk, grade 06 Colonel, which they don't put Colonel on there, but that's what in the Army in 06 is. His file name is Clayton M. Abernathy. I'm not going to go over the serial number because it's just make believe anyway. Primary military specialty is artillery, like I said, so he knows how to fire things from a distance, mortar, but he mainly specialized in larger missiles. And then he also, his secondary military specialty is radar. Hawk comes from a well-established, real loaded family. He is rich. He's a West Point graduate, top of class, and has seen action in a number of trouble spots. Graduated advanced infantry training, covered ops school, served on Cadre, North Atlantic Range Command, and U.S. NCOM EVR, missile and radar training classified. He's a qualified expert in M16, the M1911A1 auto pistol, which he actually came with. And he is keenly intelligent and perceptive and quite capable of totally selfless acts in support of his teammates and excellent leader. So I thought this was a really decent file card for when it came out. Now the 86 file card, which is going to be in the video I'm going to play at the end, which is on Joe Takes 44, shows that it shows the other file cards in detail, including that one. But I have it, so I thought I'd read it to you. So that's where we're at on that. So that takes us to where his media appearances were, comics, and in the animated series. I'll talk about the animated series a little bit. Well, actually, until I'm done talking about it. But the whole idea of Hawk in the cartoon was he really didn't exist until the season 2 of the Sunbow series, which is kind of sad because he's the original G.I. Joe leader. You know, he's the commander. And so it was sad to me that they created a character named Colonel Sharp to replace him. And Colonel Sharp basically functioned as Hawk. And I don't know why they just didn't say he was Hawk. It didn't make sense to me. I don't know why they did it that way. I know they wanted to differentiate Hawk from Duke, and that's fine. And they didn't want Hawk to take the spotlight away from Duke for whatever reason. They wanted to promote Duke, and that's fine because Duke was the new big figure at the time, and he was their John Wayne representation. So, and at the time, John Wayne was pretty big. So I get all that. But then they brought him out in '86 as an action figure, and then they put him in the series, and they even mentioned in the series that he was the original field commander of G.I. Joe and all that. So if I had the opportunity and I had the rights and permission, and I could remix the entire Sunbow series, I would make Colonel Sharp Colonel Hawk and say he got a promotion in the second season. So that I think that's I think it's relevant that they had a colonel in that position where Hawk's supposed to be, and they didn't make it Hawk. I don't know why. But Hawk and Grand Slam were really the only two original 13 Joes that were not in an animated series. Let's see about this. Get rid of that red light that's in my glasses for some reason. But in the cartoon, when he finally came on the scene, he basically just took over. Duke took a big backseat in season 2, which they were trying to promote the new figure, and I get that. Duke was still there, and he still had a big authority position. He was Hawk's senior NCO and second in command of the entire team, which was cool. And then came Flint and Beachhead, and then Sergeant Slaughter. So it was they kind of organized the command structure of the season 2 of the Sunbow animated series, which was pretty cool, and it really worked out in G.I. Joe the movie. And I know a lot of people don't like some of the stuff that happened in G.I. Joe the movie, but it wasn't a bad movie. It wasn't a great movie. I like a lot of the stuff that happened in it. I like some of the characters that they added, like Nemesis Enforcer. I like the Royal Guards. I know a lot of people don't. I did not like Galamios, but I did like Pythona. So basically, their cast for their Cobra Law, I liked. I didn't mind it. When I was a teenager, of course, the Cobra La 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 was annoying, but I find it kind of funny as an adult, and I get it, and so that's kind of how that all comes about. That might be my keyboard actually, with that red light. Oh, so sorry about that. So there are very few issues that really, there are very few episodes of the series that stood out for Hawk. One was Secondhand Emotions, where Cobra actually injected with a little gun behind the ear a little device that sent harmonic sounds into them and that controlled their emotions. And it was a really fun and interesting episode. And the other one was Nightmare Assault, and Hawk was definitely in the forefront and taking the lead. And that was a really cool one. It went into some detail, but that was really a low light episode. So I'll probably talk more about it if and when I do a low light video, because I do have low light classified and I have the vintage, so that should be fun to look at. So, and so in the cartoon, he was the commander as of the second season. I think he should have been all the way through. They had that position taken over by Colonel Sharp for whatever reason. And I don't dislike the Colonel Sharp figure. I actually like him. But I think that should have been Hawk, and I don't know why they didn't do that. So that takes us over to the comic book, where Hawk was predominant as the G.I. Joe commander. Yeah, once Duke showed up, yes, he did a lot of field missions and everything, but throughout the entire Marvel run, at least, of the 1 to 155 issues, Hawk was the main leader. Now, in the IDW run from 156 to 300, Duke kind of took a more leadership role, and Hawk took more of a backseat because he became more of a general and basically was in the Pentagon a lot, and that was cool. But it was kind of reminiscent of the cartoon where Duke just took over and Hawk took a backseat. Well, like I said, whatever. Duke's still his senior NCO and still in command of the Joes when Hawk's not there, and when Hawk's there, he is in command. So it's kind of cool. I wanted to show off a couple of my favorite covers with Hawk on it. Now, there's a few others. I mean, issue 155, Hawk is actually on the cover, folding up the U.S. flag, and they're closing the pit because they got disbanded. That's how the series ended. But of course, they came back in the IDW series. Now they've moved on to issue 3 from 301 in a Image series, and I actually have 301, but it's interesting. I'll give it that. And Larry Hama still continues to write. It still got that same Larry Hama feel to it, so I like that. Now, for those of you who don't know, Hawk, like I said, was originally in his green uniform. This one here, and I like the contrast between this cover and the other one because they both have the different covers. Now, this was issue 16, a very pivotal issue because this is the one where Baroness was in a his tank that got blown up and she got severely burned, and they even talk about it in their file card. It's kind of cool. Of course, we have issue 15 on the back, and Hawk in this, and Destro did fight it out, and actually Hawk ended up in the hospital because Cobra Commander shot him, but he was wearing a vest, and so it was all good. But so that's like I said, that's the contrast I wanted to show between the Hawk uniform and the original green uniform. To me, he just put on a jacket. It's kind of the same uniform, and now in the action figure, he has camouflage pants that he doesn't have in the original green fatigues, but in this particular cover, he does have the regular green fatigue, so he's in his original uniform, just with the bomber jacket, and it's kind of cool. I think that's what that's called, is a bomber jacket. I don't remember. And there's the 127 on the back. It's issue 128. Well, actually, 128's on the back of 127 because that's the way I store my comics. But this particular cover has a lot of significance. Years later, they had an IDW issue with Lady J, and they had Flint laying on the ground, very similar to this. It looked very similar. It's kind of cool, and it was a nice homage to this particular cover like this, with Lady J sticking around to help Hawk, and he had ordered her to leave, and she said, with you being injured, sir, I'm in command, and she would not leave him, and it was really cool, very heartwarming, and very well written issue of GI Joe. Most of them were. Larry Hama was just the greatest GI Joe writer ever. I don't think anybody's going to top Larry Hama. So that's the comics, the cartoon. Now, for my head canon and my Joe verse, Hawk is definitely the commander. He's the kind of leader that goes out and gets shot at like everybody else, is what it said in his file card, and in his '86 file card. And I don't know why they're steering away from that. I get that Duke's supposed to be the big GI Joe leader. I never saw him that way because I was a comic book guy. Hawk was always the leader. Yeah, Duke was, he was the field commander and stuff a lot. But Hawk was always in command, and I still see him that way. I see Duke as his senior NCO, non-commissioned officer. So and I've discussed this many times before, but a lot of people have a beat on for Hawk, and I don't know why. I get it, but at the same time, uh, Hawk did what he had to do. And a lot of people don't understand that Hawk is a West Point graduate, and he's an old school West Point graduate. And that's his training to keep a distance from his troops. And basically, he had to keep things from him. That's the way he was taught to be an officer at West Point. And knowing my military history a little bit better than maybe some other people do, I don't know it perfectly, and I'm not going to claim to be a historian or anything. I may claim to be a GI Joe historian because I know a lot about it. I don't know a lot about the newer stuff. I'll say that. So I would say anything that's vintage and maybe the early 2000s. I do know quite a bit about. I don't know everything. GI Joe is huge, so it's impossible to know everything about GI Joe. I mean, it's not impossible, but if you know more than I do about GI Joe, then you are super into it, and my hat's off to you, sir. But what have you? So like I said, for my head canon, Hawk is he's a really cool officer. He does what he has to do to get the job done, and yes, sometimes that means he has to sacrifice his men, but that is the way he was taught. Now, on the same token, Hawk won't sacrifice his men if he's not willing to be sacrificed himself. So there's that. And I don't think a lot of people take that into account. And yes, there are certain things he did throughout the G.I. Joe comic that may be seen as being a dick or whatever, a jerk. But like I said, it's his training. It's part of who and what Hawk is. Without Hawk, there is no G.I. Joe, as far as I'm concerned, at least as far as the G.I. Joe team. Now, of course, you had your original General Colton, who led the original Joes back in the 60s and 70s, and that's cool. I like General Colton. I like him a lot. And I know he helped put together the G.I. Joe team from behind the scenes, and that's cool. But he was basically retired, and it's pretty cool that Larry Hama actually brought Joe Colton into our vintage line, and then right on up till today, so much so that he was in G.I. Joe Retaliation. Now, I thought it was a little odd that they did not have Hawk in G.I. Joe Retaliation, but, that's how it is. But Hawk was in G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra, and I know a lot of people call it a popcorn movie. I went into it with expectations, knowing that they were going to totally change the story, and they did. But they did it in such a way that it was a fun, entertaining movie. And I don't think they steered too far away from the tradition of G.I. Joe to make it a bad movie. But they were also updating it for a modern audience, and I thought they did it very well. I'm a big fan of the G.I. Joe movies. I'm not super fan of Snake Eyes as a G.I. Joe movie. I think it's a good movie. I don't think it's Snake Eyes. it's a modern interpretation of Snake Eyes, and that's fine. But to me, that's actually a movie about Storm Shadow and not Snake Eyes. So that's how I see that. But I covered that in my Akiko video, but I covered all the G.I. Joe Snake Eyes Origins movie figures and stuff. It was kind of fun to do that too, because I did enjoy that movie. But again, I don't see it as a G.I. Joe movie, but they did some things right. I did like the Baroness in that. I did like Scarlet in that. I did like Storm Shadow. I liked Akiko as a character. So there it is. And I veered off topic. But Hawk was in G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra, and I thought he was portrayed very well by Dennis Quaid. I like Dennis Quaid as an actor, so it was just, to me, it was very fitting and a no-brainer. So it played very well for me. So I know a lot of people have varied opinions on it. That's cool. Everybody has a right to their own opinion, and I like that. I like the feedback and the various opinions, but we should be able to have a conversation about our opinions, and maybe like I'm okay with your opinion, you should be okay with mine, and that should be how that works, because we're all part of the same community, really. So that's the way I see that. So there is my take on Hawk, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I'm gonna play the Hawk video on Joe Takes for Hawk on Joe Takes 44 right now, and thank you for joining me, and I'll see you later.
Tonight, when evil reigns supreme, a hero will rise, fulfilling his every dream with courage and honor deep in his soul. He's General Hawk, the G.I. Joe's control. Oh yeah. Yo, Joe, together we stand, united we fight. Yo, Joe.